What do you do when you lose a spouse? I look back on my life. For me, September 29th, 1998 was like any other day. I woke up and I didn't find my wife. She was nowhere to be found. Just a couple of minutes later, my 4-year-old son, Connor, and my 14-year-old son, Kyle, come in and say, "Where's mom?" I go, "I don't know." We kind of look out around the house. We go down the hallway and we finally go downstairs and we find her downstairs, down by the washer and dryer, face down. It didn't look good. Within a few minutes, there was medics, firemen, police, aid cars, all sorts of people at the house, and they had done the procedures to try to save her. They had the paddles that go like that. They had all the bags of fluid hanging from the spindle thing at the top. And I just remember thinking, going through this, one of the things you lose total sight of is time, or total conception of time, if you will. I didn't know how long it had been, but they were working on my wife, Dana, and the firemen came over to me and they said, "We've been working on your wife for 90 minutes. We still don't have a heartbeat. Would you like us to continue?" And I remember thinking just then, my brain was working just barely, and I thought, 90 minutes, no heartbeat. I said, "No, you can stop." And she had passed away. She was 38 years old. And as I said, September 29th, 1998. Nobody prepares you for this. There's no manual, there's no handbook or pamphlet or course that you take. Oh, how you navigate losing a spouse. I remember being in a daze or days at a time. And sometimes you just reduce it down to its most basic element. Let me just get through the next 5 minutes. Let me get through the next hour. And sometimes if you could ever get to sleep, sleep was one of the only reliefs that you had, because you'd pass out and go to sleep finally and get some just respite from all the heaviness of the loss. But then you'd wake up the next day and realize it was all real. So how do you survive that? You just figure it out slowly. Time is the great healer, but nobody wants to hear that when they've lost their spouse. But every 5 minutes, every hour, every 24 hours, every day, every week, it gets a teeny bit better. And by the way, don't feel bad about your friends saying things that don't make sense. People try to comfort you, and it doesn't make any sense. They don't know. In fact, along the way, about 2 weeks later, after my wife passed away, I went to support group. I'd heard about support groups, but never really had the chance to, or opportunity, I guess I should say, to be in one for at any point in my life. But I went and it was extremely healing. I would strongly recommend a support group wherever you are. These are people who have gone through the exact same thing, and they can relate to you much more so than even family and friends that have no idea what you're going through, but they think they do. As you sit in the support group, and I would sit in a circle, and it'd be my turn to talk. Sometimes I didn't want to talk. I could barely talk without breaking out into tears. And it would come around to me and I'd say, "Hi, my name is David Brooke. My wife Dana died September 29th, 1998. I'm having a really bad week." But watching these heads go like this, the nodding of the heads was so powerful. These people understood what I was going through. So if you can find a support group, if you can find people who've had a shared experience, as tough as it is, it really helps. The rest of the people just don't really have a clue. But ultimately, you just go through time, and it gets a little better all the time. But there's so many days that, and it's not linear, by the way. It doesn't go just a little better. There's some days it's terrible, then it gets better, then it goes back to terrible again. So you never know. But ultimately, one of the things that did help me is I got past it's like the open wound that finally heals over a little bit, and then it's really sore, and then it aches, and then it finally starts to go away a little bit. But you still see the scar. The scar will be there forever. Ultimately, one of the things that helped me was getting a gratitude attitude. I later became a speaker, and as that gratitude guy, I speak a lot about this and about what an attitude of gratitude can do for you. But it makes such a big difference. But remember, it takes time. I'll say it again. It just takes time. It's just little by little by little. There's just no handbook. I realized about life. In fact, I think sometimes about my parents, and I think, gosh, they did a decent job raising five of us. But looking back on it, I would have liked it if they'd said this to me maybe more than anything else. Life is going to be up and down. It's a big roller coaster. There are going to be times where you're higher than the kite, so to speak, and you love life. And there's going to be times when you're lower than whatever, and you can't imagine being that low. But remember this one thing, and this is the key. It always gets better if you just give it time. It always gets better. And it's hard to believe that sometimes, but I know it's so important. If you get back up again, you'll be glad you did. But think about gratitude and think about focusing on all your blessings and abundance. It'll help you. But remember, it takes time. And it's one of those things that's just going to never change as part of our life. There's a starting point and there's an end point. As somebody once said, the birth date and the death date on the tombstone, the dash is your life, and it goes by awfully fast. So think about a support group. Think about being grateful. Even think about getting a gratitude journal. I'll put a link in the description to that Gratitude Guy's Daily Gratitude Journal. That really helps because if you think about it, it's like a dream. If you talk about it, it inspires you. But if you write about it, it empowers you. It can help. The best of luck to you in your journey. It takes time. I'm that gratitude guy. Remember, be grateful and never quit.